Hello, it's Ellie Diecast, and we're back. I got a bunch of requests to keep doing these custom videos, so there must be kind of a diehard group out there who wants to see them, because they're probably the least watched of the videos that I make right now. But so I said I would. And the next step, if you remember, in our little journey through customizing, I don't know if this is going to work, because here, let me just a second. Let me get the light a little bit better here. There we go. Let's try that. That's all better. So we masked the cars and we got them painted, and you can see back there in the background here, I'll show you, we've got a little addition of them back there. So there's a little addition of them hanging on back there, all painted basically the same colors. My additions don't ever end up all being exactly the same, but that's okay. And these little Torinos, I want to, in addition to the flames that we've already painted on them, I want them to have kind of another layer of detail, and that's going to be, if I tilt this right, you can see it, it's going to say 429cc on it, on the hood. And then back here, see if I can get the light on there, it's going to say LE Diecast. Now, if you're wondering why I'm not using water slide decals for it, it's because you can't use a water slide decal if you just want lettering over dark paint. If you want lettering over white paint or light colored paint, they work fine. You just use the clear water slide decal and it'll work fine. That's why you see a lot of customs that are white or light painted with a lot of detail. But unfortunately, my favorite color is black. And I like black cars with the lighter colored flames, so that left me with a bit of dilemma, is how am I going to get the detail or those cutout letterings, or it could be badging, or even something like the flames. How do I get that to paint over a dark color? Because a clear water slide decal is not going to do that. And best I can tell, you got two choices, and I use both. You can either buy decals that are printed in white, and there's very few places you can get those. I've done videos on Pato's Place, which is where I buy mine. I just bought some more from there. I think it's the best place out there. But Pato's Place sells decals that are printed in white, because most printers won't print in white. So I buy them. I don't have a printer that'll print in white. Or I have to make a stencil. And that's what you're looking at there, is a stencil. Well, that's great. I make the stencils the same way that I made the masks for the flames, except that they're really tiny, and that brings its own problem. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to put the mic down here. Let me make sure that's not showing up yet. I'm going to put this back over here, and I'll try to show you. The truth is, I've been putting this particular video off a lot, and I made it once and was unhappy with how it turned out, because it's really rather boring. It's the most boring part for me in making my videos. Here's what we've got. I've got a, just stabbed myself with the scissors. I've got some vinyl that I've cut out on my plotter, and I'll move the light here so it'll catch it. There you go. So you can see it says 429cc, 429 CI, cubic inches, and LE Diecast. And there's about, I don't know, 12 more of these on here. You can see I've done a bunch. And what I do is you can go in there and what's called weed that out. And what weeding is if I use a weeding tool, which is nothing more than a stick with a pin on it. And if I use a weeding tool, I can go in there and I can kind of flick out each of those letters, but they're really tiny, and it's really easy to damage the vinyl when I do that, because remember, this vinyl isn't normal like airbrushing vinyl. This vinyl is meant to conform around really tight edges, so it's really kind of soft and delicate when you're getting in there and weeding it. And if I stick it with that, it doesn't take more than a few holes in it before you've wrecked it. So I've come up with my own process, and this is not perfect. This is something I've kind of made up. What I do is I use regular masking tape, and the cheaper the masking tape, the better. I'm using this cheap old Home Depot stuff. Regular old masking tape. The cheaper the better, because the cheaper stuff is usually stickier. And rub that on there. So I'm going to do one of them. See how it's stuck on there? And then, and I'm going to try and get this on video, and I doubt it's going to come out great because this is pretty tiny. And it's not going to be perfect because I'm at a weird angle here. And if I pull it at a very sharp angle, what you'll see, here, we'll get it started. And sorry for the sound, I'm covering up the sound right now. But I usually can get it started. I moved my light for the video, and so I can't see the edges as well as I usually do. Here we go. There we go. See that little piece that just popped up there? It's really tiny. If I get my fingernail on it and pull it, what it's going to do is pull that out. This was the part I dreaded. I knew this was going to come out being more complex than it is. There's a lot of parts here that usually have to come together. And the main one is my lighting. Has to be set up so I can see this letter. There we go. Finally got it started. Once I get it started, we're usually good to go. So there we go. See how it's starting to come up now? And so usually I just kind of hook that with my fingernail and just keep pulling. And it's rare that it will get all of them. Some of them I'm going to have to weed out. It's usually that bottom line on these that gives me the most trouble. See how it's just pulling those off? And the masking tape is stickier than the back of the, well, there you go. See, I got some of them. And just to show you that it does work, I'll show you the ones I've been working on. You can see it pulls up about 2/3 of the lettering on them, so I'm just kind of pulling those out of the trash there. So now, put that down. And one thing I do want to do here, just a second, I gotta rescue a piece here that I just threw back over here. That wasn't very smart. Okay, we'll come back to that in a second. Put that over here. Now, what we're gonna go in here and do, if I can find my weeding tool. There it is. Okay. Is we're going to go in here, and I can probably get one of these. Sorry for the fuzzy stuff on my tool. I should show you the other things that I do. I've got a cloth over here off camera, and here's one that I've been working on. See all the little letters? They look like little fleas. Those are all the letters that I've weeded out by hand. And this little pile over here, those are all the letters that I pulled off with the tape. So the tape usually gets about 2/3 of them. And I find that if I use I've got two cloths here, but if I find a cloth that doesn't have a lot of fuzz on it, it works a lot better. So, okay, I'm going to put the mic down here again. There we go. And I'm going to try and weed some of these out for you on camera here so you can see it, but my light is not good. And so what I do is if I lift up just an edge, like that, and then I'll try to do this. If I just kind of pin it between my nail and the weeding tool, it'll come right off. I don't know if you can see that, but that's a very tiny little L. And then I just stick it over here on the cloth. And I'm going to do that for the rest of these, and I'll be back when that's done. Okay, we're back, and you can see I've weeded out the rest of that there. They're really tiny. And see, here's the ones that I weeded out. A couple things. When you're weeding it out, it's easiest if you just kind of hook a little corner and lift instead of trying to stab and pull it off. And you're better off not using your fingernails, or I don't use tweezers either, because I'm always ripping those tiny little parts. So I find it easier if I can just kind of flick it out with the weeding tool. Also, make sure you get all the little parts, because nothing will screw up your paint jobs later in the future than one of these little parts sticking on your car by accident and painting over it. So we have a lot of them floating around the garage here. Okay, so now what we're going to do is take a, do I have one pre-cut here? I don't have one pre-cut. I got to put down the mic. Is take, this is transfer tape, and it's actually transparent transfer tape, even though it doesn't look like it. And just cut a piece off. So there's a piece of it. This will work for 2 of these. So I'm just going to cut it in half. So now I got 2 halves. Put 1 half over here. When you're working with transfer tape, if you stick it to other transfer tape, it's really easy to work with. If you try sticking it to anything else, it's not very good. And then we're just going to lay it over the top of this. And see what that does is it kind of sets it. It presses all the different pieces down on it. Then we're going to peel it off very carefully. You don't want to get this far and have it get wrecked. And you'll see the transfer tape doesn't sit on it exactly. So then we just trim it. And as long as the transfer tape's covering the main piece of it, it's fine. You see, I'm just kind of cutting around it. And don't stick your finger right on the back there. Just stick your finger right at the edges. Otherwise, you're going to lift off some of the parts you just spent a bunch of time fixing. See, there we go. And then this guy, this is wax paper, regular old cheap wax paper, and you just stick it right on there because it'll peel off the wax paper without leaving any parts behind. And you can see those are all the stencils that are going to go on my whole little addition here. Eventually, they're going to be placed in place here. They're going to be cut in half. So the 429 CI is going on the hood, and the LE diecast is going to go back here on the quarter panel. And the eventually, they're going to have a number 14 on top for 2014, and that's going to be done in white printed decals that I'm getting from Pato's place. They're on their way. So that'll probably be the next video. So to put them on, and you've probably seen this before, I'm going to peel one off over here very carefully. See, right there. There you go. We're going to cut them in half once I get this junk off my... We're going to cut them very carefully in half. You could also do this with a X-Acto knife. If you find that your scissors pull the they pull the vinyl away from the transfer tape, it's because your scissors aren't sharp enough. I sharpen mine with this Dremel tool all the time, so they're pretty sharp. That's why it hurt when I stabbed myself earlier. But then, let's see if we can get one of these in place. I think these are already on. Let's jump over to this one, and I'll put this one in place. All I'm going to do is very carefully place it. And you can kind of move it around a little bit. Check and make sure that's about the right placement I wanted it. Press it down, and there we go. All I'm going to do is peel it off very carefully, and you got to watch when you're peeling it. Watch when I get to the D here. The D has a little piece in it, and you want that piece to stick on. Sometimes it lifts up, and so I kind of have to push this back down and make sure that it stays on. And then that is going to get a light coating of paint over the top of it, spray paint. Not a lot, or it'll bleed underneath there. And Well, we'll do a video on that when we get there. So, because I got a whole bunch more of these that I have to do. So, yay me. All right. So, thanks for watching. That'll do it for this video. Hope that helps. Bye-bye.